Man City look well and truly on for the treble. One game to go of the Champions League final that we will discuss on the show next week. But first and foremost, we need to talk about how they beat Manchester United 2-1. And there's lots to it. John Stones, goals from distance, plenty to discuss and break down with my friend Matisse. How you doing, man?
Pleasure.
It's just feeling inevitable now, sitting here talking about Man City. Picking up silverware and not getting out of second gear to do it.
Yeah, literally just coasting. Didn't even really get out of third gear, let alone second. Kind of passive after the first goal. I think the 15 seconds surprised everybody. I think it's the fastest Premier League FA Cup goal ever, followed by Louis Zaha, which was obviously against Chelsea. And yeah, they didn't really push United. They didn't really go full throttle or put the pressure on them and really, try and drag them for a 4 or 5. They were quite kind in the end.
This has become a Man City team that we have talked about becoming better at dealing with transitions, not wanting such open games, keeping it quite closed off. And it felt like Man City as a unit were just very compact all the way, and they were doing things very efficiently, whether it be the long ball, whether it be accurately shooting from distance, whether it be, even though they didn't have that many shots, I felt when Man City did find the openings in attack, they nearly scored. I know it was only 2-1, and I actually don't think City were probably deserving of more than 2 goals in the game, because United actually defended pretty well and actually in their own way did well to limit City a little bit.
Yeah.
But there were moments you think of that flashed, effort across goal. You think of
Rodri, not far from
there was one where Stones underlapped. There were a few moments where you thought, City really go for it.
They wanted to.
Yeah,
it felt like they had the handbrake on
that.
Yeah.
I don't want to discredit United.
Yeah.
United fans weren't happy with us last week because they felt we discredited them a little bit too much. We see your comments for the season they've had. But all I'm trying to say is, Man City, I'm not just saying, because they didn't respect United, that they didn't go full out. I think almost the other way.
Yeah.
Because they respected that United could hurt them and they wanted to have a little bit more of a controlled affair.
Yeah, I think I've seen Man City do this before, and it is in big games they do this. And they did it against Bayern Munich away, they had a 1-1 draw. Real Madrid away, they had a 1-1 draw. And then in this game where they've taken the lead, but they haven't gone again to kind of suffocate the opposition. They've gone into more of a passive kind of controlling mode. They did have more possession. I think you said they were outshot by United.
Yeah, I think they were.
And I think United's downfall is that, not unlike City, they didn't have their strongest team available to them. They had a couple of players missing. I think City had everybody available, and you see that clear difference on the bench who can come on.
Sandro Martinez.
Exactly. Yeah. And Anthony as well, who brings that intensity, allows Bruno to come back into midfield.
That's true.
And bring intensity there. When you're playing with Eriksen in a midfield 3 or in a 2, no matter what, it's basically off the ball like playing with 10 men. The guy is not going to be able to help you out in any stretch of the imagination. And we know how much of an engine De Bruyne's got, how much of an engine Rodri's got. And it was quite obvious. I thought that, listen, they were going to use Fred as a man marker. Maybe they could have played McTominay as another man marker for Gundogan on the right, and then they could have just completely man-marked De Bruyne and Gundogan and just left Casemiro in the middle 3. But I think in the end, quality prevailed, and even individual brilliance, which is what the game was decided upon. Because like we said, Man City didn't annihilate Manchester United. I was actually quite impressed with Man United that after 15 seconds at Wembley against Man City, they could have crumbled. And we've seen plenty of teams this season capitulate when they concede early.
We've seen this team capitulate plenty of times themselves.
Exactly. But in this game, to be fair to them, they got a grip. The penalty, in my opinion, is fortuitous, but letter of the law, a lot of people say, listen, it's a penalty. I think the law needs changing. I think Grealish was really annoyed about that.
Can I jump in on that? I don't even think with the law it's a pen, because and I haven't gone and done my homework and read it all, but I just want to ask, what happened to things like intent and proximity and all that? Sure, they might say Grealish's hand is an unnatural position. What's unnatural about your hand being somewhere behind you when you're jumping to head a ball that's going to a player behind and then you can't see what's going on? I thought it was totally natural. Wan-Bissaka's, if I'm Wan-Bissaka, Grealish's hand is about here. I cannot believe it was given. I actually thought it was a disgrace of a decision. At first I saw it, I went, he has clipped his arm. His hand is quite high. And then when you think about everything else, I thought, I can't believe it. But whatever.
What did you make of the other penalty kind of controversy with De Bruyne and Fred?
I found a clip of it on Twitter, and I don't always want to give full judgment because I saw it live. It was my mum's birthday at the same time, so I was kind of watching the game, and I was like, "Happy birthday, mum!" Still don't want to watch football. I think that was more a penalty.
It was contentious.
I think that was more a penalty.
Yeah.
If you've had
he
to
steps
go
across him, doesn't he?
If you've had to go through someone, but then I'm being a little bit hypocritical because Partey did that on De Bruyne at the Etihad and didn't get it.
Yeah.
And I said, he did well to get his body in front.
He gets the body in front. They're both going for it.
Yeah.
And then he does get the ball after getting across De Bruyne. It's contentious. I think it's one of those ones. If you get it, you can get it. If you don't get it, I can understand it. The other one I thought was harsh, but I think with Manchester United, when you
I thought Casemiro a little lucky, by the way.
Yeah,
definitely could have got a yellow.
Could have been sent off. Some people say
could have been a red.
Could have been sent
but
off.
I didn't complain that it wasn't.
Yeah. Akanji really poor first touch there in that moment as well to let the ball get away from him. But yeah, I felt like with Man United going a goal down that early, individual brilliance from both the goals. We'll talk about the second one because I think that's a lot more up for debate about the goalkeeper. But I just felt that in this match, Man City, I didn't give Man United a prayer. So then for Man United to go and lose 2-1 and not maybe test, the goalkeeper as much as they should have, or to not come on the front foot and expose themselves to a Haaland and De Bruyne front two counter and transition, I'm not really going to be criticising them overly for that, because as much as people will say they wanted Man United to have a proper stab at it and it's a final, it's an opportunity to stop the treble, you still need to use your head. You can go out there with all the passion and desire and you want to fly into tackles and get angry and aggressive, but at the end of the day, you've still got to play football and you still need to use your brain. And Man City have become absolutely devastating on the break this season, as well as obviously controlling and dominating. We know if that you give too much space to Haaland in behind, that is going to send you for 3s and 4s.
We've got Gundogan here about to take kick-off, and interesting he takes kick-off because what it tells you is that Dave immediately got an idea of, look, Haaland's drifted out to the right, Walker's stepping up a little bit, you can see what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
Now, I'm actually going to go as far as say I feel a little sorry for Man United here. What I mean by that is, what a finish from Gundogan. What a finish. How often, maybe Gundogan pulls that off a lot, but how often does a professional footballer pull off that kind of goal in a cup final 12 seconds into it? But also, I think Man United are a little confused about, it's kickoff. So we have to start, it's the rules. They have to start in their half. They can't start on the press.
Yeah.
They have to start in their half. So when this is taken by Gundogan, it goes all the way back to Ortega. They're immediately, De Bruyne, Haaland, Bernardo, Walker, they're all coming into this area. And Eriksen is pushing up, I think, to get into where the plan is telling him to be. So he's coming on to just keep a little eye on Rodri, because Ortega takes a touch. Diaz is clever, because he steps in front of Rashford, and Rashford tries to go around, and he just says, no, we're going to let Ortega take this goal kick. So he blocks off Rashford, Ortega sets up. Now, Sancho's got an eye on Walker, Eriksen's got an eye on Rodri, Bruno's come in, that's absolutely fine. And I think Fred and Casemiro as a pair are meant to have an eye on De Bruyne and Gundogan. And it's Casemiro that's come all the way from the middle to the right to try and challenge this from Haaland. But where I feel a little bit sorry for Man United is, I think Casemiro's judged this wrong. I don't think he should be coming all the way out of position to try and battle this header with Haaland.
Yeah.
But then I sort of understand why Lindelof and Varane, or Lindelof in particular, doesn't really want to step up to engage in that header so early on.
Space,
because, they 10 seconds ago, Haaland was here and Lindelof was on the edge of his box.
Yeah.
Haaland wins his header, De Bruyne and then Lindelof go together, and the Gundogan finish is unbelievable. But I just feel like I feel like I can't blame him too. At first I was thinking, here's another midfielder that's run off Eriksen and bam, they scored. We talked
it wasn't
about
like
this in a
that.
derby
We did,
before.
yeah.
I actually don't think it was like that, and I think it's just kind of brilliance from Man City.
Yeah. It's not a high XG chance as well from Gundogan.
No.
De Bruyne, De Gea is rooted to his spot. Can't move. Guy looks like he's in quicksand.
Do you not think he should dive though?
I think sometimes you can dive for the cameras and you can dive to dive. And I think he knew.
I think dive to give yourself the best chance.
Yeah, dive to give yourself the best chance, but I think he just knew that I can't get anywhere near this. Yeah. The second goal is where I'm really going to crucify De Gea. But funnily enough, talk about Manchester United only having one shot, I think, on target in that first half it was. So just the balance of everything in general was just off a little bit in terms of, we've seen this season he hasn't been contributing as much as he needs to. And in a game like this against Man City, against their fully strengthened team, yes, this moment that we're talking about it's a freak thing. It's 15 seconds in, 12 seconds in. It can happen. It's not good to start a game like that. And I did think it was going to be a capitulation, but they didn't. But there's more parts of the game to to kind of really criticise Manchester United than this. Like you said, this is kind of a moment of in time, and it is harsh. But I think overall, there's a lot more.
You're right
here.
I agree. It's actually brilliant from Man City, because the next thing we're going to talk about is John Stones and how he sort of basically played in midfield. But what's again interesting is, at kickoff, he's in the back four with Diaz, Akanji, Walker. That tells you from the very start, like, I'm just slotting in here. And as Walker progresses up the pitch, you've still got the 3, the 2 and the 5. They've just reshifted in a different way because they want to get Walker up the pitch to then maybe counter press. And if they don't win that first header, you've got players like Walker in that position to deal with it. It's very, very clever. But because Haaland's hold-up players got better as the season's gone on, he's been winning those flick-ons, winning those headers. When it does get to him and it's flicked on, they're just outnumbered. But it's brilliant from Gundogan. Let's talk about John Stones, because then that was pretty much the only time we saw him in the back four. He spent the rest of the game basically in midfield. And he was absolutely fantastic. Let's have a little look at some of his numbers. In fact, 51 touches, 3 ground duels won, 2 long balls in the game, 88% pass accuracy, 2 tackles, wasn't dribbled past once. We all saw that. We saw in the game, but we also saw that clip of him being pressed in the way on the edge of his area, and he just turned out so naturally, like he's been playing, like he's been Busquets for 15 years. He was pretty special on the day.
It's ever since he's moved to midfield, in substitute of Rico Lewis, who started there, he's been immense. He literally plays like a midfielder. He doesn't play like a centre-back playing in midfield. He just looks like a midfielder. He's so press-resistant. He's so intelligent. He can carry the ball. I saw him getting in so many advanced areas. I think there was an opportunity for a cutback at one stage. He was underlapping Bernardo Silva quite a lot. But the thing is with Stones, he's always moved like this. Even in his days at Everton, he always overplayed. Sometimes he was criticised for overplaying under Martinez, I think it was at Everton, because a lot of people were like, you're doing too much, you need to clear the ball. And that was when, English defenders, kind of old-fashioned, clear your lines, etc. He was one of the obviously Ferdinand started it, maybe a Rolls Royce of a defender there at Leeds, but he was another one that kind of broke that, and he was going to play the game his way, regardless of anything else. And he was always very elegant on the ball and very good on the ball. And I think if anyone could have done the job to step into midfield, it was always going to be him. But to see it actually come to light is brilliant. Honestly, it's fantastic from Pep, because it was something that he was trying with Rico Lewis, but then defensively he didn't get the same solidarity that he needed. And now he's playing an extra centre back, dominating the ball even more, and still getting his rewards going forward as well. It's perfect balance.
Touchdown was unbelievable. He was all over the pitch. I should have actually pulled it up to show you, but I mean, just think dots all over a football pitch. He was brilliant. I thought he was magnificent. And you look at the clearance off the line very late in the game as well, or even if I think he basically heads the crossbar in an attempt to sort of make sure it doesn't go over. Defensively superb, and the fact you can transition from centre back to into midfield, because it makes complete sense. It's actually, we're dominating midfield, we just need an extra number. I just step forward 10-15 yards and see if we can just control a little bit more with me there. He was absolutely brilliant. Let's talk about someone that you're not so happy with, and we mentioned him in recent weeks, but it's David De Gea again.
It's not the only Man United player I'm going to criticise, but he is one.
Well, let's talk about everything that went wrong for United.
I think for Manchester United, at times we do see Rashford up front, and we see why. And again, Martial is not the answer because he can never stay fit, but Martial can interlink and kind of join and knit play together a lot better than Rashford can. And I think Rashford's back to goal play is something that I've never seen really from him on a consistent level, to play in that role, especially in a game like this where you're not going to get as much of the ball. You need a bit of an outlet, you need a bit of an out ball. I remember Drogba for us was that, when we used to come up against teams that would dominate us. Obviously, he's nothing like Drogba. He was obviously going to be used for the counter-attack, but you have to be able to sometimes hold up the ball, and you need to be able to bring others into play. So Man United's attacks they were never really
They didn't stick. They didn't feel convincing. They didn't feel.
They broke down too quickly, too early, too often. And I think Sancho was almost a ghost again out on that left-hand side. He was never going to be able to go at Walker 1v1. He doesn't have the pace. He doesn't have the power. But again, if you're going to be a playmaking winger, you've got to get involved in the game more. You've got to help create chances, and I just didn't notice him. So only when Garnacho came on, I was like, oh wow, Man United are playing with a left winger.
I thought Garnacho was really good.
It's not the first time that I've seen Garnacho come on and outshine Sancho. He's 18 years old, didn't cost a penny, and every single time he comes on, he brings life into that team. He brings enthusiasm, directness, going for goal. He scored, bent it just round the corner. I would have loved to have seen what would have happened if that was there from the off. Obviously, we know Garnacho at the moment is probably better off the bench. He's still very young, but it doesn't make for good reading for Sancho. Even Antony's had a better first season than Sancho's had 2 seasons, and we still have Diallo to come back as well on the right-hand side after his loan at Sunderland, I believe. So it's not good reading for Sancho, to be honest, especially if Rashford's go back to that left-hand side and obviously a new striker comes in. And yeah, the goalkeeper for the second goal is just, it's poor, man. I mean, I saw, there's obviously goalkeeping experts that analyse goalkeepers specifically, and they said 81% of Premier League goalkeepers save the shot that De Gea let in from that shot from Gundogan. It's not as bad as the West Ham one, which you'll remember, which literally just went through him like a hologram, but it is bad. And I think for me, what makes it worse for De Gea is that because his specialty is shot stopping, he has to save that. Because he's so poor on the ball, and I think his pass completion was something like 47, 48%, because he's not commanding and he doesn't collect crosses and he doesn't take pressure off his centre-backs from set pieces, because he's so poor in those aspects, his shot stopping needs to be even better to quantify and make up for that. And when you're not saving shots like that, you're really not worth what you're paid, and you're really not worth the hassle.
Agree, and that's a couple now in recent weeks or months where, they just feel far too easy. I agree. I mean, I tried to make excuses as well. Oh, well, did he see it late? Did he? But no, rubbish. It was just really poor. I think Man United, if they're to evolve, they have to move on from De Gea. But it's interesting when we talk about moving on from players. People then start to go, well, basically anyone who is likely not in the first 11, they should move on from. So, they'll talk about Sancho, they'll talk about Lindelof, Lindelof I thought did okay. I thought they were actually, Ten Hag was right to go with the proper back four rather than going for Shaw at centre-back and Dalot.
Yeah, I don't think any of Man City's front three had a great day.
No, I thought Fred was good as well. I thought he did what I expect Fred to do. Yeah. Casemiro, I think, lacked a little bit of composure for me. Again, that tackle, it was a bad tackle. Then he goes down acting like he was
lucky. He's very lucky with that tackle. Because if he gets booked there, then the rest of his game is compromised. And that could have played a part as well.
When you look at that and then his contribution to the first goal, I don't think Casemiro had the final that he had in the Carabao Cup final, for example. But I take into account that United are also missing, like you said, Antony, Martinez as well. But what we're talking about here with Man City as well, 2 goals from distance again from Gundogan. 2 goals from distance to beat Leeds only a couple of weeks ago, 2-1. De Bruyne away at Real Madrid at the Bernabeu. It's no accident what Man City are doing in this area. And I just want to show you this, where they're ranked in the Premier League for goals from outside the box. Guardiola's first ever season he arrived, they were 7th. Since then, they've been first, third, first and second to Newcastle this season. Now, the team that scores the most goals every season is probably likely to be up there for goals outside the box. I get it. But it's no accident. The amount of games they have won because of a goal from outside of the box, the efficiency they have when they get into that zone 14 area, which if you don't know is that area, not you, if people watching it don't know, is basically the D area outside the penalty area. The amount of times they manipulate situations in wider areas to then build the cutback to a player in that situation. They are primed and designed to be able to not always play through teams, but push them so far back that at least you've got a nice shot on the edge of the area. Now that Gundogan goal is spectacular. And actually, the second one is also pretty spectacular because the De Bruyne pass, he doesn't connect with it perfectly, but he connects with it well. They're very, very well executed, but it's all by design.
Would you mind going back to the former slide there with the teams? I'm just thinking, if there was another way that Man United could set up to maybe combat that situation of being able to shoot from distance, or just being able to dominate zone 14, like you're saying, because we know Man City getting into the central areas are a problem. You take Eriksen out of that team and you put McTominay and you make it a Fred Casemiro.
Do we have McTominay
midfield? For starters, I think.
Let's add him.
Because that's personally what I would have gone for, because Man United are not going to dominate possession. And Eriksen, yes, he can pass the ball to a good level, but I just don't think that's worth the sacrifice on a big Wembley pitch against creative players like De Bruyne, like Gundogan. You're going up against basically a midfield 4 and you're outnumbered. And then on top of being outnumbered, you've got somebody that doesn't have legs. I think if you look at this midfield 4, which is basically what it is, it's another box midfield. any way you want to look at it, Gundogan's making inside runs off of Grealish. The reverse pass will be always on. Same thing goes for that side as well. Bernardo reverse pass, De Bruyne's inside the width of the 6-yard box, and he's trying to make cutbacks for Haaland. To go up against that, right, you got your 2 centre-backs up against Haaland. You have to trust in them to win their aerial duels. Anything that comes into the box, you deal with it. Van Dijk and Joe Gomez earlier on in the season, that's what they did for Liverpool to win that game. If you're not trusting yourself to deal with that, then you have no chance. But man mark Fred on De Bruyne, man mark McTominay on Gundogan. They're the ones that you've got to watch. They're the ones with brilliant off-the-ball movement. They're making those runs into the box. They're using Haaland as a decoy. And Grealish is not really going to take on Wan-Bissaka too much. He did dive a little bit for the booking. Wan-Bissaka 1v1, you trust him to deal with most players, any player. Again, you have to trust in him to do his job. Bernardo Silva versus Luke Shaw, again, you've got to trust him to do his job. But Grealish's job is always to receive the ball, take it a couple of yards, recycle it back into midfield. The main threat, the main danger is Gundogan and De Bruyne. They're the ones that are the decoy runners. They're the ones that are ghosting. You go man for man in there. You could even maybe potentially tuck Bruno in if you want, and just go. I know Garnacho doesn't always start. He is a player that kind of comes off the bench, but they don't really have any other option. And you have Rashford and you have Garnacho as a front 2. You got Bruno tucked in, and you just kind of defend in a 4-3-1.
Like a diamond, or
in that kind of formation, and you just sacrifice the wide areas. You say, listen, we don't mind you passing out here. We don't mind you passing out here. If you pass out to the wingers, we're going to defend 1v1, and we're going to cut off the inside. We're going to cut off the middle of the pitch, and we're not going to allow you to outnumber us with Stones, with Gundogan, with Rodri, and with De Bruyne. We're not going to allow you to do that. We're going to suffocate the midfield. We've got our counter-attacking Rashford and Garnacho, it would be, on the break, but Bruno will have to be trusted to play those passes and link it up and contribute to goals, which he can do. But he'll give you the legs in midfield, and you just sacrifice those wide areas, because I don't think, listen, what are Man City going to do? They're going to either try and make combinations in the middle, which you've got closed off, or they're going to cross the ball. I think for me, that's kind of what I would have expected a little bit more from Man United. Instead of trying to cover the whole pitch, which is a big pitch, you're not going to have possession, you're going to gas yourself out. Focus on the central areas, be compact, go from there.
I agree. I mean, and look, hindsight's a wonderful thing, but I am on record on United View, go subscribe to United View, with Cam, saying to them I expected a really boring game. I actually think, despite the moments which it had, I actually don't think it was that great a cup final in terms of a spectacle and entertainment. I don't think either team played anywhere near their best. But I also said that I wouldn't play Eriksen in that game. Now I've done my bit to take the blame off Eriksen on the goal. But I do think that you just needed the legs, because even if you go 4-3-3 and you play McTominay, so let's say,
and as the game slows down, maybe then Eriksen can come on for some creativity. Maybe
because even if you still sacrifice the wide areas and just had a midfield 3, at least you want that midfield 3 to be able to cover the ground. I've seen 3-man midfields beat 4-man midfields. I've seen 2-man midfields beat 3-man midfields. You can be outnumbered and win the battle, but you've got to have the legs and you've got to have the dynamism and the plan to do it. So I think Ten Hag got it a little wrong. But at the same time, United did limit City quite a bit in the game. I just wonder how much City really threw at them. And I also wonder whether the rotating in the last 2 weeks going into this game just took a little bit of momentum out of City. I think they'll just be happy they got through and won. They'll be delighted. They've won the FA Cup. It's a big trophy. They'll be delighted. But I think they'll also be happy, okay, we've got ourselves... I think they'll think we've got ourselves a really crucial, just 90 minutes competitive, under, tense circumstances in a Manchester derby. We got over the line, and that's just a little bit of confidence. But not that they've lost confidence, but I just think momentum's a big thing in football. So they'll be happy. Look, will it be a cup final we remember for years and years to come? Maybe not in terms of a spectacle, but the first ever Manchester derby FA Cup final, the Gundogan goal. I think there's been a lot of great things from this game.
Some brilliant moments of individual quality. Again, Gundogan turning up for City in a big moment, whether it's on the final day against Aston Villa, whether it's a cup final, whether it's an incredible performance at Goodison Park not so long ago, to kind of put them in good place for Premier League success. The guy's getting his flowers after a game like that. He can play in the 6, he can play in the 8, he plays in the 10. He's even played up front for Pep as well in big games when they've had injuries in past seasons. The guy is just an incredible footballer.
He is unbelievable. We haven't given enough credit. We haven't given enough credit on the show.
He is such an incredible footballer. He's so intelligent. He's wearing the armband. He's the captain. And I think it goes without saying, regardless of who Man City planned or plan on bringing in, whether it was a Bellingham and now it's changed to whoever, Gundogan signing a new contract, there's certain pieces of the puzzle you just keep until they can't go any further. And I think Gundogan's one of those players. You're not going to find a player
doesn't exist. I've tried
like that out there without paying stupid money, if they even exist.
I don't think they do.
He's so intelligent.
I think he's the most complete player in world football.
Wow, really? Midfielder.
I said player. Maybe only midfielder.
Clip! But he is incredible. He is incredible.
Well, look, can you play as a 10? You bet you can. Look at the goals. Look at the passing range. Look at everything. Can you play as a central midfielder? Well, he basically does that. He plays box to box. Can he play as a 6? He was the starting number 6 when Man City won the title and beat Liverpool, who got 97 points. They got 98, and he was starting at the 6 with Bernardo and De Bruyne as the steal in midfield. He has done everything, and he scores free kicks. He scores goals by making runs to the back post. He scores goals by just sitting on the edge of the area. He's defensively superb. Well. He's got a great engine. He's good with both feet. Look at his assist for Haaland at Goodison as well.
Yeah, left foot. Yeah,
he is. I think he's the most complete midfielder in world football. Genuinely, wow. I think he's. And if there's better out there that I forgot, let me know in the comments because I haven't really gone looking at all the other names. Off the top of my head, I struggle to think of anyone at the moment. And 32. Man City have to time down. I don't want them to. I want them to.
Give them to you for free.
Right, why not? One last
dance,
Man City.
A favour for me, one more time.
Why not, Pep? Go on. He's your mate, Arteta. Come on, think back to the old days. Yeah, he's brilliant.
But I just last thing on Sancho, he's just not intense. No. It's just not intense. Like, this is an intense game. This is a Manchester derby. This is at Wembley. This is a final. His playing style is just so. Yeah. Lethargic right now. He just cannot be playing in this kind of game.
I think he's a combination player.
Yeah, he is a combination player, but in this game they were never going to get those combinations because they were always going to be kind of isolated up front because they were going to have to focus on the majority of the time of defending, and on the counter, of course, he's not the quickest as well. So it's a shame that they had injuries because they could have maybe done something a little bit more with Anthony out there and obviously Garnacho. But yeah, I think Sancho, he's in a spot above her long term. I really do.
I agree. All right, that's been everything around the FA Cup final. Matisse, a big thanks for joining us. Do you think they'll get the treble over the line?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I've never been more convinced of a team to go and do the treble. And I think for me, it's because they're not just blowing everybody away. They are going to Bayern Munich and getting a 1-1. They are going to Real Madrid and getting a 1-1, doing a job. They're doing a job in a game like this. Like, they know how to manage games. They know the environment. They understand the atmosphere and they play to it.
I'll leave you one thing though. If we just, before someone clips this up and thinks that I'm putting Bruno Fernandes at centre back, if there's one team that I think are more than happy to swallow their pride and just go,
yes,
there we go.
That's exactly what they're going to do.
Yeah, there we go.
Exactly what they're going to do.
Yeah, we'll just suck it out. There, you have the ball.
Yeah,
we don't want it. We'll shake on penalties right now.
Right now, if there's a team that are going to lock up shop,
they'll be happy to
ultra defensive and be bastards about it, it will be Inter Milan.
And they're happy to do it.
They're happy to do it.
Dzeko up front, Lautaro, no problem.
But if Man City get the first goal, if they get an early goal, then that's
players in their 30s in midfield, a back five, proper Italian club that want to sit back at the back five and defend.
Love defending.
Listen, I think I don't want to put a prediction out there.
Go on then.
I think City win, but I think it'll be a harder final for them.
Okay.
I think they will have to go up
really
to win it.
Hopefully they do, because I want it to be a good final.
And that's why goals from outside the box are so important to them, because they're going to need, when they are dropping back and throwing everyone in goal, they're going to need something special.
I just think with City's options on the bench, they'll find a way.
Yeah, they'll find a way. I agree, they'll find a way. They'll win the game. All right, everyone. That has been Talking Tactics. We have one more for you next week after the Champions League final, and then we are done for the year. But of course, we will be keeping you up to date with, anything you want to see. You let us know in the comment section. Players that sign for clubs, you want our breakdowns, you want our thoughts on certain signings, we can do that on Talking Tactics. This show, it's only been going about 6, 7, 8 months or whatever it is. So whatever you guys want it to be, however you want us to mould it going forwards into next season as well and through the summer, you let us know. We'll take it on board and we'll see what we can do. Matisse, a big thanks for joining us as always. And I can't believe I've taken you for so long, because Chelsea, I'm sure, have dropped a few headlines that you need to go react to.
Nah, it's fine. I'm on a break now, Fabrizio. If you don't mind, just try to tweet at a normal time. Maybe business hours, Monday to Friday.
I thought of you immediately. I saw I went.
This guy wants to do Sundays, 11:30 p.m. Inconsiderate.
That's why Arsenal, I can only be thankful for the lack of transfer.
Unbelievable.
Right, everyone go subscribe to Matisse channel, go subscribe to mine as well, and we'll see you very soon. Many, many thanks.